My mother always say this repeatedly. Come, my son. Why you so handsome? You say, my mother, repeat that 20 times. I told my wife, why can't you repeat like my mother said?
Wow, why you so handsome, Hi everyone and welcome once again back to the Irene Ang podcast. Now this Irene Ang Show, we like to deal with different things, some fun, some not so fun, but everything is relevant. I'm not so irreverent as your thing. So as a multi-hyphenated actress, boss, entrepreneur, daughter, all those are actually not poor thing, you know. Doing so much things is not poor thing. The hardest job, a role that I've ever gotten was to be a caregiver. Even in Fly, right, 1/3 of my staff are caregivers. So I feel that today's topic is really, really important and hits home because amidst all the laugh, there's a lot of pain. There's one friend of mine that I would like to invite to share our pain and laughter in his journey in caregiving as well. So please put your hands together for my most favourite Malay, humorous, comedian, Abang, Suhaimi Yusof.
Thank you very much. Thank you, multi-hyphenated person. If you're multi-hyphenated, I think I am multi-semicolon.
Semicolon. Yeah, and today joining us, GM of Helpling, Paulo.
Hey.
So let's begin with Suhaimi. All right, a lot of people don't know, but because he my abang, you know, you have made generations of Singaporeans laugh from the time you were in radio and then in Surya and then Channel 5 and then on movie. And every time people see you, it's just you are cheerful, you are a cheerleader. Even to me, how were your caregiving experience like? And how do you put that aside when you go on stage or when you perform?
Yeah, but I guess the performance that we do for the outside world, I guess that's the superpower that we somehow obtain.
Comedians have this superpower, right?
Yeah, I think we can actually make like hundreds of people laugh. But then again, to make one person laugh at home is quite a challenge. Just one example is, of course, I had to entertain my mother. Someone who has reached beyond the age of 83 and above. She's no longer the same person that we know as your mother. The emotional part carries a very heavy burden because how do you make somebody happy when they
are suffering
inside? Because there's a couple of layers of emotions there. Or even I have an aging brother. My eldest brother were like far apart. She's almost about like 30 years older than me.
Huh?
Yeah. Today, why I mentioned my brother, not only he's aging, but he's also having this difficulty in moving himself. He cannot even feed himself because he's had this several years of Parkinson's disease. So all he does basically today is just basically sitting down. And life can be quite depressing because you're on the bed 24 hours a day. You can't even make a simple move because his hands are a little bit curled up like that.
Yep.
And then he can't even put up on button because he's just living opposite my mother's house. So I used to take care of my mother, and then of course I co-share with my sister. And then today I have to go and visit all the time because I'm taking care of these two. My brother will be a little bit more difficult case as compared to my mother. My mother is
the mother's still mobile and
move. But my brother tend to be a bit more depressed all the time and he's always crying.
I just want to ask Paulo, what are the kind of things that you can relieve caregivers?
So primarily we do the activities of daily living. So that's everything that the elderly needs. So feeding, bathing, accompaniment to hospital appointments, etc., where they want to go. So some of our caregivers are actually, they can cook simple meals as well, so they take that burden off of you. Some of the elderly that use our services, they live alone. So sometimes their homes are quite disorderly, and we believe that the environment is quite important. If someone comes in for 3 hours and then they leave, what kind of environment are they leaving for the elderly person? So we do the housekeeping as well on top of the care. Yeah.
Actually, back to Suhaimi, you know, I feel like amongst all the race in Singapore, and I don't mean it in a bad way, I feel like the most closely knitted are always like the Malays. Because you're so closely knitted, what are the cultural expectations or pressure for you as a son?
Actually, to be honest, according to the cultural norm, the son must take care of the parents.
Hey, this one not just Chinese. Malay also like this.
So,
Chinese people also like that.
But today, basically, what we do is we co-share. So me and my sister, we co-share.
Schedule.
After several years of taking care of my mother, then we kind of like work out a timetable.
But how about Paulo? Do you all go in and solve these disputes? One thing about domestic helpers that is full time, you can't do that. You cannot transfer house, which I think is a problem. Which when I become president, I will tell the parliament. So a lot of my friends are like, "Hey, I go holiday, want to put in my sister's house, but it's against the law to put my helper in my sister's law. So you have to apply and all this. But actually, if you can show that it's the same mother that you're looking for, can already. But I suppose something like Helpling actually solve this problem because the helper can go anywhere, right?
So no, there's a difference between a caregiver and a nurse. So caregivers, they are certified caregivers. However, they're not allowed to take on kind of medical tasks.
Like injections?
Yes.
And all that. Okay.
Yes.
Feeding?
For tube feeding, no as well.
Tube feeding, no.
Because it requires medical equipment, right? So it's really with regard to activities of daily living that they...
Feeding medicine and all that can?
Can. Yeah.
Okay.
So coming back to that means if I take off my mother or my brother, for instance, or this is in the different address, Helpling can come to my house.
Yes, whichever of your
The
food.
days when my sister takes care, so the helper can also go to her house, right?
Yes.
Can he choose like I like this girl because when we use the I use the cleaner one, right? The cleaners every time come is different girl. But for elder care, I think the elderly would be more comfortable if it's the same person. Can he offer that?
Yes, actually some customers say, oh, I'm fine with different caregivers, but no, we insist it needs to be just the one because it helps the elderly as well, especially if they have dementia. Like,
I'm in real trouble.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm in real trouble because I shot the commercial with Helpling, right? My mom is in love with Nor. What her name is?
Mumu.
Mumu, yeah. She's so cheerful and she can speak Mandarin. I don't know. Did you teach them Mandarin or like the Chinese auntie? Huh?
So some of them in their experience in working for or caring for Singaporean families before, they took it on themselves to learn Mandarin.
Wow. She miss Mumu a lot. Mummy, 你不要看这个节目哈. I hope my mom is not watching this. I want to ask like Suhaimi and yourself, like she as a caregiver and you running this business, has it changed how you feel towards aging?
So actually I was brought up by my grandparents from a very young age. So
Me too.
I've always thought of old people as like individuals to respect and to deeply care for. But I think what's changed when I started doing Helpling care is that it's important to help them with the day-to-day, but it's also very important to let the old person feel as if they're still young. Because sometimes when we treat them as if they need the help, it actually makes them feel a little more helpless. So if Akong wants to go and do gardening in the morning, even if he's not going to be able to do it
Don't
at the
stop
same
him, right?
Yeah, don't stop him. Go help Akong. Help him to relive the days when he could, dig out the ground, pot some plant.
Or maybe help him and do it with him, right? Yeah, instead of just saying, no, too sunny outside, later you get heat stroke. And I often tell my Filipino stepmother, who's very upset whenever my father go to the next block to play mahjong. I said, I think he has not many years to play mahjong. And playing mahjong is good for his head and makes him feel, if he wins, even if he wins like $10, it makes his day, like, oh, I won today. And then he gets upset when he don't win. But whether he wins or he doesn't win, right, it stimulates him for 2-3 hours when he's playing mahjong.
Yeah, I think for me is why I decided to take care of my mother was because the fact that, when you read reports, something like in 2030, 1 out of 4 Singaporeans will be 65 years in.
Yes.
And that includes me, who's now placed on a conveyor belt, that I'm going to reach that status soon. But by taking care of my mother, I get to see certain blueprints. That what are some of the things that older folks need or older folks don't need. Okay, the other factor is, of course, not only helping them to have a little bit more time and move things, but I think when you are more spiritually inclined, the requirement is your house needs to be a bit more clean because you're talking to the Almighty. As my mother, she's also quite mobile, but sometimes tend to be a bit forgetful. And then she had to wear some adult pampers because the drips of urine. So I told the kids, if you wipe drop off those urine from your akong or your nenek, you get a better reward in heaven.
You tell your kids that. Okay, now they know that you are lying to them, is it? Or you're not really lying, it's true.
It's a promise in the hereafter. Later we talk about it. But then again, the whole idea is to make sure when you do prayers and all that, the house is keep clean. But to keep it clean in that state is very difficult. That's why we need some kind of help, somebody to monitor all the time. So usually people would engage maids and all that to do it. But then maids are also quite expensive nowadays. And then you don't have a little extra space for them to stay.
Like what are the hours? What are their offering hours?
So basically, you can book a part-time caregiver from 8 a.m. and then the latest they can finish is 10 p.m.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't do overnight. So I think the reason is primarily with regard to the scope of work that the government allows them.
Okay, so again, when I'm president, I will relook at this scope.
24 hours,
No, not 24 hours, but maybe you allow shift like how the hospital is. Like you pretty much need that because a lot of the old folks who are ill or come out from hospital or surgery, they are not so convenient to go toilet, and sometimes they may lose their sense of balance and they roll off the bed. These are things that happen. I very experienced caregiver. It's all happened before.
Anyway, we're getting there also because I noticed that old people, we're not old, we're young seniors. Okay, the young old seniors tend to be more nocturnal. They're very active at night.
Correct.
So they go to the toilet. Sometimes you also pray that they don't fall down.
But I have one question for Paulo. If there are audience watching and they do have situations at home, what are the things they should consider before deciding whether they want to get a permanent full-time domestic helper, or we need to call Helpling also?
Commonly, families approach us because they're not sure whether they want a full-time helper or not. And at the same time...
like a testing first probation.
That's correct.
Okay.
And quite commonly, their parents are also resistant to getting a full-time helper because they're like, oh no, I'm still strong, I can still take care of myself. I think to some extent, it's also kind of a point of pride for them. They used to be this very able provider for the family, and now they need help. So they use Helpling as kind of a means to test that out.
Like a bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But then some families, they just completely forego or they don't decide to take a full-time helper because they realize that, oh, if we have a full-time helper, we need to have a room for them. It's like taking care of another person as well.
So instead of one old folks, now I have one old folks plus one helper to look after. But I think most people, and I have friends who say that, very paiseh lah. My friends or my relatives or my aunties and uncles' children will think that I'm not filial. You know, it's the mindset shift about abandoning your parents and you're not good enough. You know, how do we help them overcome this?
You yourself having to juggle all of these multi-hyphenated roles that you have.
Yes.
When it starts to affect all of the parts of your life that you're constantly juggling, that's when you need to start considering, like, oh, I'm trying to be this actress, I'm trying to run this podcast, I'm trying to run this business, and then you go home to your parents and then you don't have that much energy anymore. That's when you need to start thinking, am I actually making my relationship with them a little less, like, am I bringing home that negative energy to them as well? And that's when the help can come in and try to see, maybe it'll help you uplift the other parts of your life so that when you do come back home to your mom, you can focus on, giving her your full self.
What is the funniest thing that happened to you in your caregiving journey?
Talk to my mother, right? And then I say, you want to makan or something like that. Right? And then she said something else. She said something about Piramli movie. I said, I don't understand. So I then on the movie lah. So I switch it on and then she watched Piramli. And she said she's feeling hungry. Oh!
She won?
Then I realized, oh, it's not the Piramli movie. She want to eat like Piramli. So instead of giving her food, I switch on the movie.
For me, it's my godfather who had dementia. He used to be a bodyguard to a very important man in Singapore who passed away 5 years ago. And then he would always say there's drugs here, because he used to be a policeman. And he used to catch all the drug trafficker. And he would tell you, and he would be very serious. I tell you, behind the camera, I think it's there. So he's stuck in his 30s, and it's very fun watching him. And my friend, who is the actual daughter, right, will say, "Ayah, he repeat this for years already, for 10 years." But because I'm an actress, I find it very useful because I would entertain him. I was like,
Of course.
like, then how? Now we do what? Then we go back. He said, quick, go the coffee shop. Then we sit down. We pretend. So I go and like act together with him. Then after that, when he reached the hawker center, right, then you order noodles for him or whatever, or his favorite is duck rice, right? He will forget about that already.
Yeah, very good.
Then he will tell you something else.
I think one more thing that I also remember, my mother always say this repeatedly. And then when I come out from the room, we always say like, "Hey, come, my son. Why you so handsome?" You
Wow.
say, my mother, repeat that 20 times. I told my wife, why can't you repeat like my mother say?
Imagine you come home, hey, my husband, you come home already, Wow, why you so handsome, All right, it's been very insightful. Thank you so much. And one last question from the two gentlemen. What is the one advice you would give for any of my audience watching this who is embarking on a caregiving journey?
Don't waste time. The help has arrived. Because as a caregiver, the first thing you need to think of is always to take care of yourself. But how to take care of yourself when you have to do so many things? Caregiver must always focus on self-care.
I think first off, if you're going to be the primary caregiver, get your certification, get trained so you know exactly what you're doing. But then secondly, make sure that when you're caring for your loved one, you view them more as kind of like a younger version of themselves so that you can make sure that they age in place in a very empowering way.
Thank you so much both for such a joyful episode despite the seriousness of the topic.
Yeah.
Firstly, I think we learned that we cannot do everything alone, right? Number two, we also learned that our parents brought us up when we were baby and helpless. They were there to clean our shit. I would say shit I mean, y'all can beep when you're at it, okay? And so now it's our turn to return the favor, right? And the next thing is there's no shame in asking for help because actually if you don't rest, don't take a break, you cannot give more, right?
Absolutely. And enjoy the moment. The moment is, hey, why you so pretty? Hey, why you so handsome? I learned from my mother.
Hey, got spy, run. Every day tell me got spy, got parang, got drugs. Thank you once again for this episode of the Irene Ang Show, which was very, very fun. And I'd like you guys to remember to like,
Share,
subscribe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Why you so pretty?
Why you so handsome?
Why you so handsome also?